told me to check it.
Yeah.
Can't think of his name off. I'm just an engineer. Although I did send who's the attorney? Yeah. I sent him information on that.
Plus the item.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's why I sent it right before I went. Okay. All right.
I'll have you meet,
Sure. I guess we just ended.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty important.
I'll be sitting here in the back. They want me to do my little Reader's Digest condensed version at the start of their meeting. I did like the last couple of meetings. So I'll do that.
so you know, I called the road commission about my water problem running down the hill. And they told me that that was not their concern, that they had signed an agreement with the township, or township agreed to take over responsibility for the roads that were being closed down. And so that's what I called the township. You see what else?
You about it, because you said they are contact for all.
I told Steve I would send pictures. My house, that whole house right below it.
Yeah. So,
I never had that problem.
bless his heart.
He said he'll talk to Elmer.
I don't see a lot of pictures outside.
Wow. Yeah, and I got three questioning spots where some. Our board started so late.
Actually, my daughter's boyfriend took her for her birthday Saturday. They went to like she's 25. They in the areas of New Orleans.
Way high in the.
Yeah.
See, you can just something who's going with a skip.
There was one that started out and then started in Cambridge, but I know what you mean. You have to get up in the socks. Yeah, they used to give you the socks. You either bring them or you got to buy them. I know Sky Zone's like that.
Same old. Watching the stock market. I mean, it was like, people have no idea that it's done this. It's like day to day, you can't pay attention.
My husband is day to day, and it drives me crazy.
Oh, really? On the stock market? See, I mean, unless you've got millions of dollars and you don't care, you can buy and sell every day. I have a friend that's been buying and selling. Really close. We've been good friends. Just 18 years. Still 7 figures. He's $3 million. Retired 40-something. He has never sold a share ever. Anything he's ever bought in 60 years. And he only buys dividends. And he only buys dividends. He watched the market. I call him up and say, hey, what's going on here? Nothing. I'm like, oh, I might drop $1,000. I piss him off because my wife we bought houses.
Yeah, but I wanted to.
He was originally
Yeah, that's why I was in office.
You know, I think what's worth now, a million something. Yeah, I know. He's miserable, he's bald, and he's tired, and he's never married.
Oh, he's never been married. Somebody that lives in this too.
Yeah, he has a good little girl.
Were you gone?
Great, great. She. You remind me of a previous life, sir.
Can't be good news.
No, I mean more than what I gave that up, I think in 1987. What happened?
What's that?
I said, what happened? I've been in the alcohol business most of my life. And I taught school and worked construction. Had 2 wholesale buildings. Lived in 17 states, had like 25,000.
What brings you to Michigan? Where in Michigan?
My wife decided to, when we retired in California, that with no money coming in to speak of, and what we had not really saved, because we ran around the world constantly, sales and Caribbean for 45 years. And we weren't real. We had one child, and she was in college when we were real. I was stepping in. Her mother was 20 when she had her, so she was out of college. We were young.
Yeah.
She started working for the state of California. Retired at 52 to 30 years. Had run the whole state for solid waste. She's retired with 57. Retired with 3 houses in California. Travels all over the world. I was very lucky. I left my wife. You get your mid-70s, and you don't want to do probably going to keep sick with it. This year would have been 50 years together. I met her when she was just, she was never going to get married. It took me 3 years to get married. I was a bachelor. Now I'm at a grandkid. We totaled up from high school in the last couple of years, 65 countries and 49 states. We cheated a little because we were in the Caribbean. Every hour. South and Central America, Tahiti, and Caribbean, Hawaii. British crazy places. Other areas. We have 5 houses on the Big Island. My brother still has a house there. He just got divorced. It's gonna take him a while to get over it. 3 grown children, all college educated, so there's no big deal. We're gonna fish. That's my bad. We're gonna chase marlin.
He was about
Half an hour away from the marina. He hadn't had time to fish. He's been busy raising the kids. My wife was up here. We both had half our family and half of Ohio. We both got stuck in Ohio. When we retired, we went, why don't you go back and take a look and see? She was skiing at Nuts now, but she was a little girl with parents. But I hate winter, so it's been brutal. Yes. I'm scared. My front yard still got 2 feet. Let's drive in. Yeah. Before it started melting, I had 3 full feet on the storage.
I did too.
I measured. It was on the lee side of a shed. We get almost all western, not all, but we get a tremendous percentage of westerlies. My house sits north south. So east side of my roof was my shed. Pretty well covered, with neighbors. I've only got about 10 feet.
Every day and
And he just got way over his skis that time. Plus he was working full time on the side. Two of the ladies have been promoted. I've been involved a lot of the happening.
This is Sue Fisher. She's our nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Those are my 2 buddies here.
Okay.
We'll do it in the morning.
our mother nature.
It's a good little town.
Is it?
7 months a year left. 2 months is
Just
okay.
about cut- they're
3
cutting too
months.
quick.
Okay, it is 7:01. Let's call the meeting to order, please. And will you join me in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're getting feedback. I think it's that. We're getting feedback. Is it from this podium? No? Okay. Okay. All right. Madam Clerk, roll call, please. All right, we have Sue.
Here.
Trudy.
Here.
Lori.
Here.
John.
Here.
And Laura here. We have a forum. Board member conflict of interest.
I guess, low business, subsection C, I'll abstain from the police contract for the chief of police, as stated as last meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any others? Okay. Board member conflict of interest is closed. Public comment on agenda items. No? Okay. Approval of meeting agenda. I have a few changes. I apologize for the mess, but, okay, so I'd like to add a new item. I'd like it to become item 11C. No, I want it to be C because I want C to become D. So let me start again. Let's amend item new business 11C. It's housekeeping from November 15th, 2024 township meeting. And that item will become 11D, which will allow us to add a new item, 11C, and that is discussion with our attorney regarding the lawsuit against Tuscarora Township. And then lastly, we have a sewer update which didn't get put on here. I apologize for that, Steve. And Mr. Berlin is here and he has agreed to allow Steve to pop in there before the audit presentation. So it'll be 7, it'll become 8. And do I have to change the numbers on everything?
No, 8A and 8B.
Okay. Okay, very good. So 8A will be Steve Corporon for the sewer update. And then Mr. Berlin is here for the audit report, 8B. Very good. Any other amendments?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the changes.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Approval of previous minutes. Do we have a motion, or do we have any changes? Not, do we have a motion to approve previous minutes?
I can move to approve previous minutes.
Any second?
I'll second.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, Mr. Corporon.
Special meeting,
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
special meeting minutes.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Let's go. We have the February 18th special meeting minutes.
Yes.
Do we have a motion to approve those?
I'll make that motion. And I can support that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Now, Steve Corporon.
thanks for letting me have a chance to update you on how the sewer project's going. Construction wise, Matt's and Elmer's, the gravity contract, and the low pressure sewer contractors, they're both still shut down. This is their second month of that. Elmer's supposed to be back in probably the third week of April to finish up. Their subcontractor will drill the one last force main under Arthur and Floyd. And then Elmer's will start tuning up the roads and with the hopes of paving as soon as the paving window opens in May. And they should be pretty much done as long as the lift stations get all wired up. And they're still looking for the sewer power to get the services delivered there. I mean, 2 of the 3 lift station sites are going to need some transformers, so that's in the works. The last time I was here a month ago, I told you they were still working at the wastewater plant. And then the very next day, they finally gave up because of the cold weather. They just couldn't get anything done every day. They would spend all the time shoveling snow and ice and stuff, trying to get all that rebar in place. So they ended up taking 2 weeks off, went back to work, I believe on the 24th or 25th of February. Finally got that second area poured for the tanks. And now they're working on the rebar for the final 2 pours for the tanks. Equipment's being delivered. It's being stored in the Grand Rivers Construction's warehouses or Johnny Green or mechanical stuff in their warehouses. So still hopefully looking for a startup, running this spring in June. We met with the phase 2 contractor, Walton Contracting out of Traverse City. They have both the gravity and the low pressure sewer contract for phase 2. We met with them on the 20th, I believe, of February here in a pre-construction meeting. The big takeaway from that, we finally got an updated schedule for them. They're not going to be starting the gravity contract until probably mid-July. So the good news is they're missing, the 2 big holiday weekends in that. They do know about the boat races. I think it's the 9th and 10th of August, if I remember right. They're aware of that. They know that it's going to be crowded around here then. Their plan is to start the gravity contract at the southwest portion of the gravity contract, which is at the intersection of Barbara, Doris, and Dolores. That big 3-4-way intersection down there. Start with that lift station and work their way to the northeast, finishing up with Mack Avenue. That will take them the rest of the summer and probably a good chunk of the fall. They will not start the low pressure sewer contract, which is the western end of Barbara and then out to Sturgeon Island, until they're done with the gravity contract. So if it's done early enough in the fall, they think they can make some headway in the fall. They'll start it, knowing they're not going to finish till next year. Or if not, if it's going to be too late, they're just going to wait and start the low pressure sewer contract in the spring next year. Both contract completion dates are at the end of August next year. Anyway, so that's where we stand on that. That was the first part of the sewer meeting earlier tonight. The second part, I have compiled and working with Trudy and Chris on the information packets that we are putting together to help people navigate through actually getting their house hooked up. What we have ready to go, and looking for some feedback from some folks that are here in tonight's meeting. My initial thing was a 3-page kind of tutorial, step by step, going through it. The intent will be this will be on your website, and then there's hot links to all the information out there, because there's a big information packet that's got the list of contractors, the list of electrical contractors, the applications for the township, the application for the county plumbing permit, the application for the county electrical permit, if they're going to have a grinder pump or an electric pump, information from the Department of Northwest, the state of Michigan septic replacement loan program. People lower income and have a failing system if they want to go that way. All that information is in there, and there's hot links to there. The initial feedback I got from both Trudy and Chris was that a lot of good information, nobody's going to read all that. So we came up with is a 1-page checklist that summarizes those 3 pages, has the same, and has hot links in there as well, and kind of summarizes things for them. We had a handful of people at the 6 o'clock meeting. We gave these draft ones out to them, and we've asked for feedback this week from them. Just to mark on anything, we'll tweak it a little bit. The intent of maybe having this stuff online for you guys next week. And then we also have drafted up, now that we have the schedule for phase two, we put together a notice, a flyer to post as well. You might even consider mailing this out, I don't know, maybe stick it in some doors, this time of year, but basically, that's the phase two folks know what the schedule's looking like. They might not need all the information for hooking up yet, but we need information from a lot of them on where they want their hookups to be. I met with some folks, but not as many as I phase one, so we're kind of trying to work closer to the time. So it has my contact information in there and all that. So that's how we spent the hour before this meeting. I think we're getting close on that. Agenda items for tonight's meeting. You have a small change order for the wastewater plant. It's not much, and it's proposed to come out with a contingency, the phase two contingency, which is not your general fund money like it was for the phase one contingency. So there shouldn't be any issues with that. And there's also one pay request because Grand Cover Construction was working on the plant some of this last month. Their pay request is in there. Somebody asked me tonight if we had any issues with the, what's the play later?
Executive order?
That, and just the whole,
Yeah.
Life, see, the chaos going on.
Yeah.
This is like, at the federal level right now. Fortunately, we had a good read. USDA, we've been getting, you guys have been approving pay applications and change orders and things like that at your meeting. I've had the draw ready for USDA so that Trudy can sign the paper, sign off on that, sign the very next day. And I've been submitting those to USDA that day. They've usually been responding that the next day on Thursday, saying the money's gonna be in your account on Friday. And that's how it was tracking. So we had a good read this last month if that was gonna follow. It did. It was exactly the same way. Except one of them, they had a problem with their computer system, so the phase two one didn't get input on Thursday. So it got bumped to Tuesday because Monday was a holiday. So we're looking good. If there's a government shutdown on Saturday, which I know is a threat, we should have the money in your bank if all goes according to plan the last how we've been working on Friday. So that's going well. Eagle on that side of the state, they finally got some things ironed out there. We can only get one draw behind, I think, right now, as far as getting the money back from the state. You know, one going in with this pay request here. And EPA, there's one draw that, first draw hasn't been submitted yet. I know Trudy's been working on getting that online access, so I think they're close on that.
Yep.
There'll be a second one, ready to, opposition to those draws. So the good news is that, it looks like things are going okay on the USDA side. We don't know if EPA is gonna be lagging or not. We don't have a read on, we haven't done a draw yet for it.
Right.
So it's nothing to read like that. It usually takes 2 weeks, we'll know in 2 weeks. We don't know. Fortunately, the EPA is a big chunk of money this year. But USDA has still been receptive. All right.
All right.
Questions for me? That was a lot. Blow at you all at once.
I don't get it.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
I'm gonna go home and eat cat.
There you go. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay. And Mr. Joe Berlin, welcome. Mr. Berlin is here to give his report on our annual audit.
Evening.
Okay.
There you go.
I thank the board for the opportunity to be here tonight. And I don't intend to cover all 100 pages of the audit report, but certainly if there are questions along the way, don't hesitate to ask.
This was better off.
Okay.
Was it better off? Yeah. Just speak up.
No, leave this on now that we've turned all of ours off.
Oh,
It's on now. How's that? All right, okay.
So one at a time.
So in this audit report, what matters more than anything else can be found on the first page of the audit. And we went and received a set of financial statements from the township, and we worked with the county, the state of Michigan, various financial institutions, and we confirmed and verified the numbers that were provided to us. And we provided, in the second paragraph, a clean opinion on your financial statements. What that means and what we wrote is, in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the township as of June 30, 2024. So we're focusing solely on the numbers themselves, and we're making sure that they are fairly presented in accordance with GAAP. It should always be the township's goal to earn a clean opinion on the financial statements. We did have some findings in the back, which I will discuss and go through those. It doesn't mean that everything was perfect, but it does mean that we were able to get to the point where we were comfortable providing a clean opinion that on the financial statements, meaning that we feel that these are free of material errors, because we did get enough evidential support to prove the numbers. It should always be the township's goal to get that clean opinion on your financial statements. It does mean something to earn it. We have had much larger organizations with either qualified or adverse opinions because they were not able to stand behind the numbers that were provided to us. So certainly kudos to the staff. I know there was quite a bit of transitions, some ongoing projects. Ultimately, the township was able to get to the point where a clean opinion was provided on the financial statements. If you go down to page 6, we get into the management's discussion and analysis section of the report. I find this section useful because it's essentially the Cliff Note version of the entire audit. And if you want just a really quick snapshot, what are some of the key financial highlights that the township had at the end during fiscal 24? If you want to take a look at comparative financial statements, this is one section of the report that shows how fiscal 24 looked compared to fiscal 23. This is also the one section of the report that kind of explains, it provides a narrative, explaining reasons behind some of the more significant changes in the township's assets, liabilities, revenues, and expenses. So for that reason, I do find this to be a very useful section of the report. So that looking at these financial highlights, that first bullet point shows that theoretically, if the township sold all of its assets, paid all of its liabilities, the difference would be a net position of $10,420,553. Now, of course, the township has no intention of doing that, and it is a theoretical number. But the second bullet point down gives us something a little bit more tangible in terms of explaining to the readers whether or not the financial position of the township is improving or going backwards. And we can see that the total net position increased by $260,432 during fiscal 24, meaning that your revenues exceeded your expenses. In the corporate world, we would call that net income. So we like to see your revenues exceeding your expenses. It means that you're operating at a sustainable level. And if a reader of the financial statement asks, is the township better off financially at June 30, 2024? The answer is yes, by $260,432. So things are trending in the right direction financially for the township. Third bullet point down, those first two bullet points on the very long-term basis of accounting. So we're factoring in infrastructure, buildings, equipment, streets, things of that nature, non-spendable items, and assets and liabilities that have long-term benefit to the township. The third and fourth bullet point, we're talking about fund balance, which is more like checkbook accounting. So what are your immediate resources compared to your immediate obligations? The difference being fund balance. And that third bullet point shows that total fund balances for your governmental funds, we're excluding the sewer fund. So your governmental funds came in at $2,134,892, basically break even for the year. There was a decrease of $11,364. When you think about $2 million of fund balance to have the $11,000 decrease in fund balance, it's fairly trivial to the financial statements as a whole. The opinion on your financial statements is the most important element of this entire audit report. This next number might be the second most important. If I have to rank, in terms of items of importance, your unassigned fund balance in your general fund is vitally important to the financial well-being of any township in the state of Michigan. Unassigned fund balance came in at $1,103,543 at June 30. That's important because that's the amount that the township has at its disposal to cover the day-to-day cost of running the township. You can use that for supplies, utilities, wages. I heard your engineer, I'm assuming, mentioned that, contingency in phase one of the sewer program had an impact on your general fund. Well, these resources are available to cover those types of things. If you've got a local grant with a match, you can use unassigned fund balance to cover those types of requirements. And if we take that number and we divide it by your total general fund expenditures and transfers out, you're at 107% funded. So in other words, you've got 1 full year's worth of reserves sitting in your unassigned fund balance. Townships in the state of Michigan, best practice is to be right at 100%. So you guys are right on track with where you should be. Not too much, not too little. It's important to have a little bit of a buffer in there because there is timing that happens throughout the course of the year. You've got cash gaps with the seasonality of taxes as they come in. State aid is another significant revenue source that comes in once every 2 months. You need some buffer in there to cover those cash gaps. You also need some flexibility just in case you do have one-time expenditures that pop up. An unexpected street repair, sewer project, whatever the case might be, it's helpful to have some level of reserve sitting in that unassigned fund balance. If you turn on to page 9, we get to the comparative assets and liabilities for the township last year, as well as fiscal 23. I'm going to focus on the very last 2 columns, which is your total primary government. That's across all funds of the township. It's always nice to see how are the cash and investments doing. In the very top row, so it shows June 30, 2023, the very far right column, $2,375,849 of cash and investments. At the end of fiscal 23, that compares to about $1.95 million at fiscal 24. So a decrease of cash and investments, but that was simply because the cash was used for the sewer project. Various projects during the course of the year, you can see a corresponding increase in your fixed assets during the course of the year. So that was where some of the cash went. You can also see an increase in the restricted cash as well. So the cash is being deployed in various other sections of your financial statements. If you look about almost 80% of the way down, the net pension liability for the township, always an important number. It's nice to see where that number is trending over time. It came in at $1,108,203 at June 30, 2023, and essentially broke even. Came in at $1,108,522 at June 30, 2024. So the township did have some net investment income during the course of the year. There was a voluntary payment that was made that will benefit the township on next year's audit report because these results are based on the December 31st, 2023 actuarial valuation. So the $277,000 voluntary contribution that the township made will benefit you next year. But essentially, you broke even with your net pension liability. There was a change in assumptions. So the MERS employee, the retirement board keeps moving the goalpost, and they keep changing assumptions, and it keeps on bumping up the liability. So even though your pension assets increased, the pension liability increased at about the same rate. So you ended up breaking even. But over the course of the next 15 years, the township will eventually become 100% funded as long as you keep on making your annual required contributions into your pension plan. And then 2 rows up at the bottom, the unrestricted net position of the township increased from $1.68 million up to $1.98 million at June 30, 2024. So a healthy increase in your unrestricted net position as of the end of the year. If we turn 2 more pages to page 11, we get to the comparative revenues and expenses. And again, I'm going to focus on the very last 2 columns, which include all of the funds, including the sewer fund of the township. Total revenues, halfway down the page, you can see fiscal 23, $2.67 million compared to about $3.5 million in fiscal 24. Healthy increase in total revenues, a big piece of that being some special assessments, as well as some one-time grants, ARPA grants, EGLE grants that bumped up the total revenues for the township during fiscal 24. You can see a similar increase in expenses. So 4 rows up at the bottom, you can see total expenses in fiscal 23 came in at $2.7 million compared to about $3.24 million in fiscal 24. But 3 rows up to the bottom, you can see that in fiscal '23, there was a decrease in that position, or in the corporate world, a net loss of basically $35,000 compared to a net income or an increase in that position of $260,000. So the increase in your revenues exceeded the increase in your expenses by almost $300,000 during the year. Next, if you go to page 20, we get a look at the fund financial statements for the township. And this is showing your general fund as well as all the other governmental funds of the township. Your general fund had a healthy increase in total fund balance, 3 rows up at the bottom in the very first column, $218,132 increase in your total general fund balance. So the most important fund is showing an increase. If you look 2 columns over, your 2016 special assessment bonds, debt retirement, had a $157,395 decrease in fund balance, but it was very much intentional. So when we talk about the fact that the township had $11,000 decrease in fund balance, it's really because you guys are paying down that long-term debt. You're decreasing the amount of the special assessments because you've only got 1 year left on those bonds. So the amount that's being charged to the taxpayers is dwindling, as is the fund balance. The goal is ultimately for the number to become 0 at June 30, 2025, when the township makes its final payment. So we're going to see another decrease in fund balance in that debt service fund in fiscal '25, but that's a good thing. It means that those bonds are gone. So, and again, the very last column, 3 rows up the bottom, shows a small decrease overall in total fund balance of $11,364. And if you go now to page 24, we talked already about the sewer fund just in terms of how it did financially. It is nice to know how is the sewer fund doing in terms of cash flows. And you can see the very top section shows that the township collected $310,000 more cash than it paid out for the day-to-day cost of running that sewer fund. So it's always nice to know how is the sewer fund doing from an operational standpoint. You're generating from day-to-day activities positive cash of $310,000. Where did that cash go? About 1/3 of the way down, the cash flows from capital and related financing activities shows that the township invested $320,189 into infrastructure in the sewer fund as that project gets kicked off. We're going to see much larger numbers in the upcoming years as that project continues to move forward. But altogether, when we look at the amount that was invested in the infrastructure as well as the bonds, $63,000 of principal paid on bonds, and another $45,000 paid on interest on those bonds. $429,000 was used to cover those longer term items. Altogether, there was a decrease in cash in your sewer fund of $2,640. So almost break even during the course of the year. A couple things, if you go to page 41, we get into the footnote section of the audit report. There were a few questions that arose that I thought would be kind of good just to kind of address as I flip through certain aspects or pages of the audit report. One of them being, what does it mean to have pooled cash? In the very top of page 41, the second sentence says all accounts of the township are in the name of the township and a specific fund or a common account. A common account means pooled cash. So in other words, the township uses its BSNA software. You have one bank account, and all of the funds benefit from using that one pooled bank account. So rather than having 7 funds and 7 checking accounts, the township has 7 funds and 1 checking account, and all of those funds use that fund to issue checks because it's just far more operationally efficient to have 1 checking account versus 7 checking accounts. That's what it means to have pooled cash. Your software tracks all the revenues and expenditures, as well as the cash attributable to each one of the funds. If one of those 7 funds spends more cash than it has available to it, you'll see negative cash. And it's a fund balance. So it all gets tracked. That's one of the nice things about using the BSNA software that the township has. It really does a great job of pooling cash, creating efficiencies, but it also does this. There's no detriment. There's no cons in terms of tracking fund balance and tracking cash reserves. It all gets it all gets tracked by the software. If we turn back the clock 10 or 15 years, when local units had different, softwares, QuickBooks or Peachtree were fairly common, it was almost a requirement to have 7 bank accounts for 7 different funds. But the software just does a wonderful job of tracking all that. That's what it means to have a common or a pooled checking account. So again, you can see there's $3,061,320 of cash when we look at all the cash across all the funds of the township. And those funds are pooled together, pooled and tracked separately. Next, if we go to page 56, we get to a comparative statement of showing the township's net pension liability, the trends in your net pension liability over the past 10 years. And just looking at fiscal or calendar year 2023, it looks like a typo, but the MERS Retirement Board has an annual actuarial valuation performed on December 31st each year. So the December 31st results at the MERS level go into the township's June 30 audit report. And as of December 31st, 2023, the actuaries were showing total pension liability that belongs to the township of just under $4 million. The total pension liability roughly 1/3 of the way down the page. That's the amount that the township is going to pay over the next 30, 40 years to fully meet its pension obligation to its eligible participants. In order to cover that $4 million liability, if you look about 2/3 of the way down the page, you can see that the township has $2,850,783 set aside to cover it. The difference being your net pension liability of $1,108,552. And if we take your total assets and divide it by your total liability, you're 72% funded. On average, our clients are about 73-74% funded. You're right in line with where we're seeing most local units. Healthy, perhaps a tick behind the average funding percentage, but still doing very well. What this does not include is that $277,000 voluntary payment, because this is as of December 31st, 2023. So next year's valuation is going to pick up that voluntary payment that was made, and that too is going to help improve your funding position. One other quick thing that I wanted to point out, if you go all the way to page 61, I know there was some confusion about how should either the library or the Downtown Development Authority, how should they be reporting their fund balances throughout the course of the year? Because there's 2 different measurement focuses. So we can take the long-term measurement focus and record all the long-term liabilities, all the long-term assets of your Downtown Development Authority fund or your library fund. Or we can look at it on the modified accrual basis of accounting and just kind of focus on how much cash is available and how much fund balance is available. So page 61 shows the long-term basis of accounting for the library. And really the one thing I wanted to point out here, if you look, capital assets being depreciated 5 rows down from the top, $183,486. If you turn 2 more pages to page 63, the big difference between the modified accrual balance sheet or the fund balance sheet and the statement of net position is just that. So we're removing those long-term fixed assets. We're focusing solely on your immediate resources and your immediate fund that's available to the library to expend. And routinely I get asked, well, which is the right way to present it? When you're reporting your interim financial statements during the course of the year, do you want to report your DDA and your library fund on the long-term or the accrual basis of accounting or the modified accrual basis of accounting? If you ask 50 different accountants, 100 different accountants, 50 of them are going to say you need to do it one way, 50 of them are going to tell you you need to do it the other way. It's really a matter of preference. What is the township most comfortable with? What's giving readers of your financial statements the most useful information during the course of the year? And I'll leave that to the township to make that determination. Either way is acceptable. I just wanted to make sure there was no confusion about how those assets should be reported. And I know that there are firms that are going to say I'm completely wrong. There's only one way to do it, but I disagree. I think either way is perfectly acceptable, especially if it's providing the board with the most useful information. The last thing that I wanted to point out are the findings. So if you go all the way to page 83, I know we don't spend a lot of time talking about findings, but I thought it made sense to do that because I know that there were questions and just needed to better understand what are the findings, what can the township do to present these, prevent these on a go-forward basis. So 2024-001 is the finding number. That's just the nomenclature that the feds tell us that we need to follow in terms of numbering findings. We assisted the township in preparing its financial statements. And what that means is the township gives us your BS&A backup. We run the trial balance. And from that trial balance, we deliver to the township a 100-page audit report. So you essentially, the township is leaning on us to take that trial balance and convert that into a 100-page audit report. And that's immediately a control finding that we have to document in our work papers. In addition to that, we help the township record your long-term net pension liability. We help the township record fixed assets and long-term debt. All these things that really required somebody with all the, I've been doing this, our firm's been doing this for 20 years now. There's a lot of training that goes into it to make sure that these things are getting reported in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Most of our clients lean on us to help us record those more complex transactions and year-end balances and prepare those footnote disclosures. And for that reason, because the township is leaning on us, and because some of those adjustments are material to the financial statements, we include this as a material weakness over financial reporting. I don't have numbers in front of me, but I suspect if you were to go and look at 100 townships in the state of Michigan, if you were going to look it up on the Treasury website, 70, 80 of them are going to have this as a finding just because it's cost prohibitive. How can you eliminate this? Well, you can hire a full-time accountant if you wanted to, but obviously there's a budgetary impact in doing so. Some of our clients might bring somebody in or a firm in to help them with year-end audit prep to reduce and eliminate some of the findings. That's an option too. But most of our clients simply say, why don't you guys book these entries as part of the audit cycle? It's going to add a couple $1,000s to the cost of the audit, and by far and away, that's the most cost-effective way to go through the audit process. At the same time, it leads to a finding. The Treasury knows this is such a common finding that they disregard it. So they don't even require a corrective action plan. When they see this, they simply know it's out there. It just makes sense from a cost perspective to leave the finding on the financial statements. But I do have some townships that are like, we absolutely refuse to have that as a finding, and to them it's worth it to invest and hire a firm to come in and help them with audit prep. So again, it's a matter of preference. What is the right way is really up to the board to make that decision. The second finding, 2024-02, separation of incompatible duties. What this means is that there's limited resources, pretty similar to the first finding. The township doesn't have an accounting department of 5 or 10 people where you can have one person opening the mail, a second person preparing the bank deposit slip, a third person bringing that bank deposit to the bank, a fourth person recording it into the general ledger. It's difficult to split up all those key tasks, and inherently the same person might do 2 or 3 of those tasks just because there's really no other option. So that's what separation of incompatible duties means. And our advice to our clients when they see that as a finding is to take a look at your key transactions, bank account reconciliations, payroll registers, any of those journal entries, any of those key transactions where there's an opportunity for somebody to make an honest human error. Make sure that there's a second set of eyes looking at that transaction and that they're documenting that they independently reviewed it and verified that, yes, this transaction was properly recorded into the accounting software and it looks good to me. They put their initial, they date it, and that becomes part of the permanent record, permanent file of the township. That is the best way that is best practice in terms of resolving that as an issue. Person A records a transaction, person B reviews it, puts their initials on it, and makes sure that it's free of an honest human error. So that's how we recommend to address that. Some of our clients get most of the way there. It's a difficult one to eliminate, but you can certainly work towards it. And a lot of if our clients want to eliminate it, my recommendation would be just give us a call. We can talk through some of those significant transaction classes and come up with strategies to increase the level separation of duties over those key transactions. The third finding, timely bank reconciliations. State of Michigan requires bank reconciliations to be completed within 45 days after the end of the month. So we are at March 11 right now. Essentially, you should have your January 31st, 2025 bank account reconciliations completed. And you should have somebody independently review and sign off on it and put it in the township file. That's what this finding is getting at. So there was a period of time where there was some transition, and for whatever reason, the bank account reconciliations fell behind schedule. And it's taken the township some time to bring those current. That's what this finding is. This, I would say, the first two are somewhat inherent with small local units of government. We don't necessarily, it doesn't cause us any concern as an auditor when we see those separation of duties or material audit adjustments. That's very common when we work with townships. Timely bank reconciliations, I would definitely make sure that action's being taken to make sure this doesn't repeat. Now, granted, if it still is the case today, and we're already 6-7 months of the way into the new fiscal year, we might see it inherently as another finding again next year. It hasn't been completely resolved. I'm not sure what the status is at this point. But I would make sure that the board is actively taking steps towards bringing them fully current. And once they get current, making sure that they stay current. And I do think that separation of duties is a good way for the township to hold each other accountable. If every month person A does the reconciliation, person B independently reviews it, person B should be putting some pressure on person A. Hey, I haven't seen the bank reconciliations yet. What's the status? There should be some friendly pressure being applied to make sure these things are getting done. They're so vital to the financial health and well-being, just so the township knows exactly where you guys stand. You want to make sure you've got your finger on the pulse of your finances. And there's no single more important policy and procedure to have in place than to make sure your bank reconciliations are happening in a timely manner. The fourth finding, similar to the third finding, timely tax remittance. This is another one where it is important to make sure that this gets addressed. Essentially, the way that the statutes are written, in the state of Michigan, the township collects taxes a couple times each year. And as those taxes accumulate between the 1st and the 15th of the month, at least 2 times per month, those taxes should be distributed to all the taxing entities. Schools, state of Michigan, the township itself, the county, 2 times per month at a minimum. Between the 1st and the 15th, the township has until the 25th to pay those taxes out to all the taxing entities, and the same, the 16th to the 31st, you have until the 10th of the following month to get those taxes paid out to all of the different taxing units to which those taxes belong. And I would make sure that the township does verify that this has been put in place. The BSNA software does a wonderful job of providing you with all the reports that are needed to do it. It's just a matter of making sure that, and at no point in time should there be more than 15 days that lapse without those taxes getting paid out. Another nice control to have in place is when you get to, at the end of settlement, March 31st, there essentially should be $0 sitting in your tax account. A couple times each year, once everything is fully settled, you should have a bank statement that shows $0 on hand. So you collect those taxes between December and February 15. By the time March 31st hits, there should be nothing left in that tax account. And the same can be said from July 1st until September 15. You guys know better than I am. Every township has slightly different tax calendars, but anyway, there should be a month or months where there's no cash sitting in your tax account. So just a simple little check that can be done to make sure, yes, we know that everything's getting distributed. It's getting distributed timely because there's nothing left in the tax account. So those are the highlights that I've got. And I'm certainly more than happy to take any further questions that the board might have.
I don't know if this is a question or a statement. I know that the report stated it was because of the transition. To me, that wasn't strong enough. There was no way that those bank statements, some of them, it's been a year
Mhm.
since they've been reconciled.
Mhm.
That's not the transition. So that's making it difficult for us now to, we'll definitely, just as a warning, have that next year.
Sure.
And I think that statement just, out of me, just really needed to come out.
Mhm.
And as far as the taxes not being paid, the distributions to the general were not done until after, or midterm this year. So, okay, I'm done.
Gordon, did you have a question? Did you want to ask about your specific department and some of the concerns?
Not at this time.
Not
just
at this time,
because July 1 is.
Okay. The same for the library. Okay. We have two entities that are, have some concern, but it's in this fiscal.
Okay,
We'll
sure,
see that. When you return.
sure.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? And I know, Laura, you've done a bang-up job getting the taxes receipted in and dispersed out. That's huge.
And there are quite a few of the 19 accounts we have that we've had them up to February 28th done. Some accounts, because we weren't given access to them, we're having a hard time convincing the bank to give us access to the bank recs
Sure.
because it's the previous treasurer that's on those. So we're just, again, struggling to get the information so that we process. But there are, quite a few that were in good shape, but we have 19 accounts, so what's a good percent to have done on time? 19, I would say. And that wasn't the case, but it wasn't like they all weren't done, but there are a lot. The pool account and the tax account are so hard
Sure.
to go
Sure.
backwards, but thank goodness for my deputy treasurer. She went all the way back to 2023, and she has spreadsheets to the penny. Like one of my deposits was off a penny, and I thought, $11 million? She's like, oh no, we gotta find that penny. So, I mean, God bless her, she's doing a great job. So I am confident that we're gonna have all, it's gonna be awesome.
Sure.
It'll
Good.
be okay,
Good.
yeah, by the 31st of March, so.
And I know that things are gonna be corrected, but I just don't like the fact that it's gonna show up again next year, and it looks like it's on us, and everybody complaining.
We can spend some extra time crafting the findings to make sure that it's reflective of the reality that existed in fiscal 25. So, yes.
Appreciate that.
I don't think, Jonathan, any questions? No? Thank you.
All right, thank you very
Appreciate
much.
you coming.
Sure.
Bills, we went over the sewer bills. We'll go over the.
Thank you, Jody.
Thanks, Joe. It is on here. Do you want to go over those or no?
I don't have anything to add. There's just a handful, there's only 9 bills we paid as of right now.
And the total of those invoices is, what's your total now?
3,677.
Everything else has been paid.
Okay. All right. And do we have a treasurer's report? Oh, sorry, yes, thank you. Had a heat stroke up here. All right, so may we have a motion to accept payment of the bills, including the sewer bills as discussed?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Thank you, Gordon.
Thank you. Oh, thanks, Gordon. And motion on the table, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And the treasurer's report. We have one.
Okay, so when we started this process of getting this board packet together, I was perfectly fine and healthy. But through the course of the last several days, this is the best my voice has been since last week, Thursday. So I didn't come up with any fancy, visual aid just throw on you, but I just heard back from county. It's called settlement time, where I go up and what you do it previous to going up and make sure that we balance. And tonight I looked at that and they are giving us an extra $19.90. But I know my deputy treasurer would not want that. She will find out exactly what we're missing and both will be even stealing. So she is 28 years as a treasurer herself in her own township, and I was just so blessed that Bobby Vlasovic recommended I contact her. So she's been awesome. But Rachel Valance.
So worked at the county.
Yeah, she worked at the county for several years while she was still the treasurer. And then she's gonna come in and help Chris and I, mostly Chris, work on personal property taxes, because that's something that our township hasn't really focused on for a while. So we're gonna kind of slowly get a process going where we remind people, don't forget your personal property taxes. So that's kind of all I have right now, but we have been working on those bank recs. Sue Fisher's helped me a ton. And once Chris and I sat down and did a few together, she went home and I'm like, I'm doing some more. So, we will get them done and then we will keep them up. It's just getting them caught up. That's the hard part. So, all right.
We don't need a motion. Okay. Onward, correspondence. We'll get to that later. Airport report. Help me out here, clerk, Miss Clerk. We have received estimates we've gotten a bill for cleaning.
Yep.
OMA, M&M.
And we submitted them.
And we're just waiting for insurance to give the approval and we can then move on and get the airport restroom building put back together. DDA. Sue, we didn't meet. We did not, or did?
No, you did meet, unfortunately.
That's right.
I just had my hip done, so I
Yeah.
wasn't there, but, yeah.
Yeah,
They're gonna look for need to get a feasibility study done to continue the pathway south of the school. So that's the next step.
and I did meet with the superintendent. They're very excited to support that. And I believe that she's going to help write a grant, seemed receptive to that, as well as reaching out to the Cross in the Woods to see if they're interested in extending the pathway that way, as that is their emergency evacuation. So, yeah, good thing. We've had 2 FOIA requests and library. Kelsey.
Hello, okay. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So I just have a few events to share from the library. We have a Snakes Alive event that's coming up on Thursday, March 20th. It's 5:30 to 7 p.m. You can learn all about snakes in this exciting program brought to the library by Jim McGrath from Nature Discovery and the Audubon Society. You can sign up on our website to attend or come day of event, space permitting. We will be limiting the amount of people who can come in. The last time we had so many people. But it's a really great program. You get to learn about snakes. It helps a lot of people who have fears about snakes. Like I used to be scared of them, went to the program. Now I respect them. I still won't touch them, but I respect them. We also have a kitten cuddles program. So we have the first one was so popular that we're bringing it back again in March. So it's Wednesday, March 26th, 2 to 4 p.m. We do still have slots open. So you get to spend 15 minutes with usually 3 to 4 adoptable cats, all brought to us by the Sheboygan County Humane Society. So you can de-stress, maybe even take home a new family member, but you don't have to. You can just hang out with the cats. And there's up to 4 people who can come in one-time slot. So if it's with a family, you can still bring your kids. We're also doing a gardening program with Veronica Lozen. So you can learn all about preparing your garden for the spring season in this program. It's starting warm weather seeds and direct sown seeds. That one you can sign up on our website to attend or come day of event. And we also have a morel mushroom foraging program that I'm very excited about. That's April 7th, a Monday from 5:30 to 7 p.m. That'll be with 5-time national morel hunting champion Anthony Williams. He's very popular. He's a great presenter, just so engaging. So you can listen to his fascinating stories from his decades of picking and tips for a successful outing. They literally asked him to chair the national morel hunting competition because he kept winning every year. And they were like, please do something else so someone else can win. So you can sign up for that on our website. Walk-ins are also welcome to attend, space permitting. And that's everything I've got. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Lots of things happening this spring while we wait for the weather to change. And parks, Ms. Henderson. We have taken a step back from the DNR grant. We don't feel we're going to be ready to meet the deadline, so we decided to take the step back. We are looking into Moran. We talked to them last year about trying to update the Veterans Pier, so we get, we haven't decided if we're gonna move all of them or just some do new ones. What's that? The bricks, yeah. To put the bricks up off the ground so the sand won't be rubbing them off. And we're still gonna work on the DNR grant, but we just don't feel we're ready for it, and I don't wanna apply and not get it. And, you know, we didn't get it last year, so I don't wanna keep doing that. So that's where we're at right now. Okay, great, thanks. And Chief Gordon.
I can talk about it well enough, so.
Okay.
As far as the police business goes, we have just been trying to get all of our 2025 mandated training out of the way. We like to do that in winter months when it's a little bit slower. If you look at the police packet this year, or this month, you're gonna see like 17 felony arrests. Don't get overly concerned about that. All they were was supposed to count checks. So, wanted to touch on building grant. Tomorrow, Control Solutions will be here. They're gonna start commissioning of our heating and cooling system. So we don't have to open the windows in the winter time anymore. So they're gonna be all over the building, just to forewarn everybody. They'll be carrying step ladders, they're gonna be going up to the ceiling tiles. What they gotta do is test every single valve, VAV box in the building. I wanna see which ones are working, which ones would be compatible with our software, and find out which ones need to be replaced. Once that is all done, the valves are all replaced, the VAV boxes are all up to snuff, we should then have 100% control over our building.
Yay.
So there's that. Last month I did 2 financial status reports. I believe we've already, Chris, have you received the money?
Yeah.
So I submitted for the $12,293. We have got that money back. We are moving forward with the downstairs construction. I just got word for 2 weeks they're going to start.
Oh,
So on March 24th is going to be day 1 construction. Boma Corporation, yeah, they're all ready to go. So Kelsey, I'll work with you on what day is good for you to get that door switched out. Summit, are you gonna be here in the morning?
Yeah. Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What time? Well, they're coming with samples tomorrow for flooring and.
For the
So,
hallway,
I wanted to touch base with you, and you and I could maybe make that decision.
do you know when we'll be here?
He's just gonna drop them off, so
Okay.
he'll drop them off to me. I'll get back to him later on in the afternoon,
9:30?
9:30.
Okay.
So, any questions on anything to do with Grant?
Where, Summit?
Summit, thank you. That was the other thing I wanted to talk about. So Summit has been having difficulties finding our as-built blueprints in electronic form. They did one, they got one today, but that was the, original reconstruction of the police department back in 22. Kelsey, however, has been able to switch our blueprints by just taking pictures of them and switching them over to electronic format. So we're gonna work on that tomorrow and then submit them to Summit.
Okay.
So once they have that, then we're gonna get put on the calendar, and we'll get in here and update our discussions.
Good, moving along.
We're moving along.
Yep.
Getting close to being done.
Yay, good job. Good work.
Thank you.
Okay. Old business. Request for proposal, legal services. Well, you're up, sir.
Alright, so. Created a, request for proposal for legal services. Did you send it out?
Not yet, I wanted us to approve it and then we can get it out tomorrow. We'll get it out by Friday at the latest. We'll post it on the website and yeah. And the return date on that, you want to be,
We said April 1st, I guess, with it being very middle of the month, we think it's sufficient
we
time.
can always extend it if we would, we're not yet. It's 2 weeks, I think that's okay.
Do we need to throw in there that we not necessarily accepting the lowest bid?
Sure. Where do you want to put that?
I don't know what it would. I guess it doesn't really state what our. I don't know that it really has to go in there. I was looking at it briefly.
You usually take the lesser, right, of all three,
Not necessarily.
from their all three. When it comes down to it.
Yeah, that's what I just, yeah. Usually we had a disclaimer in there someplace stating that, but I don't know where that is.
Section criteria is on the last page. Number 6.
Oh,
There is a number 4 on there, cost of conducting. But then it says other factors, if demonstrated to be in the best interest of township.
Yeah, so number 6, I'd have to find how that's normally worded. That, not, held to the lowest bid. Legally, I don't know exactly how, we have it.
yeah,
in
okay.
many places.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Thank you,
So, how do we want to proceed with this?
I make a motion to go with this with just the added clause that,
The disclaimer, so to speak?
yeah,
As item number 6 under section criteria?
Yeah.
Okay. And the added date under number 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
right, so Bowen and where to? Is that what you saw, Chris?
Yeah, I didn't see where it, so usually says the clerk or the supervisor, I would say it in here, but it might be.
No, I left it out, just fill in for it.
Must be delivered no later
Easy to find.
than to send it to supervisor at Tuscarora TWP.com by April 1st. Is that what we want to do? Okay. So, you want to make a motion?
I would make a motion, to add the, where it's being delivered to, the disclaimer, how it's exactly worded, and,
And the date?
oh, the date when it's, is to be received.
Yeah, so there's a motion on the table to accept this RFP with the additions of number 5, adding the date to be delivered no later than April 1st, 2025 to supervisor at Tuscarora TWP.com. And the disclaimer, number 6, we'll find that wording and get this posted on the website. Motion on the table. We need a second, please.
I'll support that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Great. Okay. We need a negotiating team for the negotiation of the Tuscarora Township Police Department contract, which will run from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028 inclusive. 2 members from the board to negotiate with the police department representative and, can't think of his name. Representative from the fraternal order of police.
Steve Warren.
Thank you. So, anyone want to volunteer for that?
You said you were different.
Oh, joking. Okay.
But you did say
No.
that.
Well, how about we'll ask for volunteers first. I'll volunteer.
I will as well.
Okay,
I will as well.
okay. And this is for the police department. And- Right, all right, so we need a motion to accept the negotiating team of, do we want 2 or 3? All right, then I'll bow out of the police department. And we have nominees of Laura and Jonathan. We need a motion for that, please. I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that Clerk Laura Decker and Trustee Jonathan Hutchison be nominated to the negotiating team for the Tuscarora Township Police Department contract, which will run July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028 inclusive. May I have a second?
I'll second.
And any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Chief of Police contract. 2 board members to serve to negotiate the contract for the Chief of Tuscarora Township Police. It is a 3-year contract for Chief Gordon Temple. It will be for the period of July 1st, 2025 through June 30, 2028 inclusive. Volunteers.
I'll volunteer for that.
I will volunteer myself. Okay, so motion on the table for Sue Fisher and Trudy Mays to serve on the negotiating team for the contract for Chief of Police Gordon Temple. Contract to run from July 1st, 2025 through June 30, 2028 inclusive.
And I will support that.
Okay, and so we have a second. And any further discussion?
Just that would be abstaining.
You're abstaining? Okay, very good. Thanks, John.
Make the motion.
I did. And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And John abstains. Okay, super. New business, wake waiver request. I'm sorry.
Oh, just ignore it.
You're okay.
Should have moved that on.
We should have moved him up. I'm sorry, I apologize for that. Okay, wake waiver. Top of Michigan Outboard Racing Club, waiver of the no wake ordinance for the boat races August 9th and 10th from 11 to 2 each day. We've done it for, I don't know how many years.
We'll make a motion to approve the waiver for the outboard racing club, August 9th and August 10th.
Perfect. Second, we have a second. And any discussion? It's a good tenants of our waters. Any discussion? No? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Sheboygan County Humane Society. Contract with the Humane Society from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. The Sheboygan County Humane Society typically provides animal control after hour services. Our local law enforcement, our Tuscarora Township Police Department handles during their working hours. But the Humane Society does provide kennels, food, supplies necessary for that. So in the past, we've done it. We have not done it for a few years. I will make a motion that we enter into a contract with the Sheboygan County Humane Society from July 1st, 2025 through June 30, 2026 to provide animal control after-hours services, providing kennels, food and supplies for housing animals that our local police department might pick up after hours until they can be retrieved by the Sheboygan County Humane Society. That's the motion. Okay. Any discussion?
They just had a new director a couple of years ago, I think it was. And I had been in there visiting, and I visited over at Little Travers. Little Travers was like spectacular. I went in that one, I was like, oh, I missed them out. I went back and visited after the new gal took over. What a difference. Clean, didn't smell. Yeah, so I wholeheartedly support helping them. They're doing a great job. So sometimes I need a kitten fix and stuff over there.
You know, other townships do pitch in as well. I don't know if all 20 townships pitch in or how much they do.
Right.
Was any of that discussed with you, I guess?
The county does supply, they contract and supply a good portion. I talked to the administrator, Jeff Lawson, and he said they ran the numbers, and for the county to do it themselves, it was, I think, $500,000. So they pay a little more than half of that, contribute that to the Humane Society through their budget. And he said it was well worth it. So for the services they provide, we could do it. So, and yeah, I don't know how many other townships do it. We're fortunate to have our own police department that can help pick up some of that slack with the lost animal, injured animal, wayward critter.
We do post a report annually stating what different townships. But I have always been in agreement with this, and I stay in agreement with that.
Do you know when they post their annual report? I'm sure they'll tell us when you call us.
We may already have, I don't, be able to have it. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. All right, so motion on the table, it's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Very good, thank you. Okay, this is where it gets, we've got the changes. Okay, so 11C. Is we are going to discuss with our attorney the lawsuit against Tuscarora Township.
And did you want to entertain a motion to go into closed session for that discussion?
I would like to make that motion, please, to consult with our attorney regarding the trial for settlement strategy in the case of Kramer versus Tuscarora Township, and I'll give you this. With the case number 25-9103, because meeting in open session would have a detrimental financial effect.
So do we adjourn at this point?
I understand.
Session? Oh, I'll second that.
State the time.
Yeah, we know, yeah.
8:18. I'm sorry, Chris. 8:17. Closed session.
You'll need to take a roll call vote, any further discussion and then a roll call vote on the motion.
Any further discussion? Madam Clerk?
John?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Rudy? Yes.
Sue? Yes.
But I guess they're there for a reason. You think it's me?
I do,
I didn't even put that much on. I got that must be me. It must be me. And I didn't.
I got 0 cents.
Well, at least I smell like 13 and
I'm
I'm
left-handed.
Girl.
Badu.
I said, I'll give you a base note, and I can mix the time with this hand most of the time. That'll be good enough, right?
What's that song? Got it one note?
That's how I do. Sometimes I think we should.
Is that the same one?
That was my right. Your shoulder.
I did too. I put on my perfume.
How long can I use that?
Forever. For hours, yeah, that's why I'm not staying with me forever. And I wouldn't suspect.
Yeah, I know, I'm going through withdrawal, you know.
But I want to read the fourth one.
My dog is back to normal.
This is like time.
What happened at the dog, what was not?
We those up together.
I have done air patrol 2 days in a row because the snow melts and then you see. You have to wait till a nice frozen morning and just take the rake out.
I've been here right now, I've never seen one of these.
Well, I was gone for 4
In the
weeks,
middle
so she was staying at my brother's, but
It makes no
all in,
sense to go.
Why
couldn't
all
we
in
do it?
that snow.
It's always
Come back.
I
Yeah,
know
I
it's
know.
slow during the snow season. I
See, I go out
pay
there.
for it during the spring.
You know, I see her calling, they run out there, you know, they're way there.
And I don't know it from here.
We used to last us a million years ago, we used to take the dog to throw it over the fence and the wooded property behind, and then we bought some property, we're like, oh, this is over there. Nice throw around.
That's okay. When we were in the back house living, when we were building the front house, you could see right on the bushes, on my leash that comes out, I would stand there at 11 o'clock, you'd go out both sides of the bush, pure yellow, not in the snow, because I'm like, at 11 o'clock at night, I'm not putting on my shoes. Go right there.
So now. You feel abandoned, Chris?
She's like, thank goodness.
I don't want to be in there.
I figure with all those ladies, you might need a chaperone. I guess Jonathan, we're okay. And I know he knows the right people. If there's any-
Well, they're my, I work like
He's doing something separate.
Yeah.
No, this guy, yeah, I've never heard of this.
Doing good in the alcohol business.
Wisconsin doesn't.
Left before and after, since they're taking full flight. She used to hire about 20 people a year. During the new tasting, 12 or 15 wines.
This took a long time.
I think that does show age,
We knew that they weren't going to make it.
Well, the other thing is.
They had to learn to taste, not consume.
Not like it's the first time they're hearing it. Absolutely.
That's why I'm glad that's useful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only, it's a lot to do. That's what it's all about.
beer time.
Just beer? I was thinking of hard alcohol. I was thinking of Mr. Jack may have to
I
come
was in
out.
their coffee, but what did Sue say about the, after the findings?
Just that she wished that it reflected that the problems we had on their watch, that this is what
It was before.
it was from before they did.
And that next year, those problems will still be there, but they won't be there.
But he did assure that they would be able to word it so that that was reflected.
Which makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
She was our at this point, to be there next year. So we have to guys ready for school years. That's what. Guys, just.
This one's off.
What's that one?
Live stream.
So everyone knows something.
I guess, yeah. Early reputation.
They're trying to.
if anybody wants to people to turn on that, and they know what we all drink now, too.
Well, you're the
You're the ringleader. The rainy, the chief.
Man, it's cold.
It is. We can shut some of those now.
I
I was dying, and when he opened them up, I was like, thank you.
Make it
Usually
over.
I wear a t-shirt.
Yeah.
That's what I just said.
Make sure you lock them so the boogeyman doesn't come.
Last one to take it off.
How's she doing? I was just gonna call her and I just.
Sherry Nelson.
They have a lock.
Oh.
Only one.
Are you getting kind of tired of what's going on across the street or not? It's going on forever.
The problem with back surgery.
I've been around, my wife was in real estate. I've always-
Never know. It's,
I know the deadlines are
50 on them.
something people make because people need
Yeah, but I think she did everything at that point, yeah.
that older building.
Yeah,
At
so
first,
that's what I would tell her.
started talking about it. I said, maybe they should just kind of tear this down and start over.
Well, there's a lot of things like that. I'm involved with it. My friend is redoing the lands in the corner. The old antique shop.
Oh, yeah, the one there, almost like they were raised and back, same thing.
Ground up right now.
Yeah.
You come by, I can have
Everybody can see.
I'm the babysitter of it. They're in the office. Skiing all winter in Colorado.
Oh, nice.
Okay, everybody tell her.
They're mandatory requirements to get.
Yeah, I agree. I think that. I like that better.
Since they have ridiculous expensive house.
Are you coming back?
And parents have a condo, all of that.
What are we doing?
And they feel obligated.
Oh, I'm in
Tired
there.
days.
Should I call you if they come back?
So they aren't really filthy rich.
No, we can
Filthy
just pull it
rich.
up on the video.
buy it, you just go there once or twice a year and say, there.
Well, you also, yeah,
They're
you
doing it
still
because
have
they,
public.
two younger members,
I don't need that.
including the ski.
That's
Like 3 years, maybe 2 years, I don't know. I've only known.
Wish I could have a rough life.
I mean, for them.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, I wish I could have a rough life like they do.
But they're, I mean, they're paying the price. Yeah,
I always wanted
Oh, they're getting married. Hopefully it's small, late fall. Finally nailed them down after chasing them for 4 years.
I said you're in for the
Yeah. Didn't know what else to call me, so I said,
Anybody can.
yeah.
We had talked me into it.
I was ready to go places.
No, it's going. You can, go and turn on a computer because it's live stream.
It wasn't working earlier live stream. I'm hoping that since the discussion we had over there. Great.
Are you live streaming it?
Oh, I thought you were gonna shut those windows, honey.
I left one open, do you want them both all shut?
I know, but she's, how about shut it halfway?
Oh my God.
Can't be way, can't be way.
So when you snowball the driveway, do her side first?
It's warm.
No, it's
You got that board and sickle.
certain things will trigger me having an asthma, and certain sense I managed whatever it was. Happened to me.
All right.
So, hey, yourself.
Nice seeing you, John.
Yeah.
Nice to be seen.
Nice to be
All around.
Yeah.
Think this is gonna be a long thing, Chris, or not?
Probably. I think emotions are running high.
Yeah, that's, I'm sure you're right.
I would guess you're right.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're on the same
Touch
side.
that.
Wilson's is running some sort of special Friday and Saturday.
At night?
Yeah, the benefits of school, and I thought, I can't remember what it was, but it had something to do with, with like a corned beef or something, and then one of the societies at the school gets a cut of it or something. If you find it, or if I find it, might be someplace to go. You're not gonna be here.
We were going to go out for my birthday dinner to Michael's in June, but we haven't made it. We was thinking, are you any interest in that, or?
In June?
Last June, we never made it.
Oh, I didn't make it last June.
I just wondered if you wanted to go. But I'll look for that thing from Wilson.
Yeah, I can't remember where I saw it, but
Well, and I talked to the gal when we had breakfast at Wilson's on Monday, and I said, have you guys ever had to open back up for dinner? And she said they're hoping to in the spring, or
yeah,
if they can get help. So,
that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Number one, help, and number two, competent help.
well, yeah, and I was thinking, I would think, like, high school kids, maybe they can get better jobs than that, I don't know.
Gotta start someplace. I started by, shoveling coal, so,
Who knows?
yeah, who knows?
Oh, 8:30 sounds like a good time to go home.
Don't tell me you're gonna bail.
I am honored to have been one of the few that showed. I think I'm allowed
I'm kidding.
to exit stage left.
Well, have a good rest of the night.
Oh, yeah, bars are closed, so you know.
Well, that's it, was it the other one is open, isn't it? Or the dirty bar is our gal used to call it. I assume she's still living.
Last I heard. Last I heard.
I think she was, they had moved her to her house to home for 3 weeks or something.
Yes.
Yeah. How you doing, Jane, over there?
I'm doing.
I know. And it was during COVID, we went over there for Christmas and took her some stuff. And she just looked so frail, didn't she? I thought she's not gonna be with us. And here it is. She's from. Really? Wow. Hard to believe. I remember that, yeah. Yes. That was a weird time. To be outside and stuff.
Yeah.
We were in a restaurant. Yeah. Were the restaurants open down here or not?
No, everything was
Closed.
but I remember being in the restaurant, and so we got to so certain people that were able to go and get more.
Chris, will you go back home tonight or not? Oh, really? You're gonna stay here or stay in
I
town?
haven't yet. A couple times it was close. I enjoyed the advancement. I went to the bridge.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
A couple times people will say, the bridge just closed, you're stuck. And I'm like, yeah, usually it's only a couple hours. We'll open it back up. My longest wait was on a Friday night. We sat, it took me 2.5 hours to get to St. Nicholas from here.
Wow.
And it was like, no, this is Friday traffic.
Really?
Oh. I kept calling friends. Look at the camera on the bridge. What's going on? Why am I not moving?
Nothing going on, just.
And they just, no, it was just a lot of traffic. But I discovered that almost 2 of my hours of wait time was from, I was north of Seashell City, but from there to like where 23 comes on in Mackinac City.
Okay.
So now I look on the bridge cameras and the road cameras before I leave on Friday. It was kind of crowded, and I thought, you were getting going on.
Yeah. I would never have guessed that. I would have figured it was bad weather, you know, that.
No, it's been 20 miles an hour, which is earlier, it wasn't this week, it was last week, it was 20 miles an hour outside of the like, don't drive on the grates. This is a precaution.
I mean,
I thought, well, like, then the diehards are here.
Stick my head out there, make sure that if anybody's out there, they come back in. Are people waiting in the hall?
No, they're really far.
Where is the bar?
Northland Brewery, that's the one that got you. I might even have to stop and get me.
They're paid by the hour, you know, I tried to keep them back there longer.
Well, I know you guys.
Okay.
Better.
Motion to reopen the back
Yeah, we already did that.
in the back.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep, I don't think you make a motion back in open session, no.
no, we're good? Okay. Open session, back in session.
That one out, right?
Okay.
We're taking this one out.
No?
Yeah, how do we want to handle that?
9,
No, it's not.
Not yet.
Oh,
see the time too,
I'm sorry.
time of the motion. Oh, no, we don't need you,
No.
never mind.
No.
Sorry,
So,
I failed.
so we need a motion.
First.
You can
Yeah, I guess-
make a motion and have a second, and if there's any discussion, you can have whatever discussion you.
So we need a motion to authorize our attorney to enter into settlement discussions, which he has proposed with Robert A. Kramer.
I support that.
I made the motion. And discussion.
So, lawsuits are expensive. And in the best interest of the township, I believe that we just settle. And leave it up to our attorney to work out the details. And we all know what the details are. I trust that they'll do a good job, hopefully we can move on from this.
It's hard, but the expense for the township and or our insurance company.
Which is ultimately the taxpayers. Yeah. John?
No, I think, moving in the right direction. Gets everybody, back to business and back to what we need to do and carrying on. Obviously I've spent my fair share in the courts and doing those processes and Julie's correct, it's not, walk in, walk out. It's expensive and, fortunately, the insurance company will cover all of it. $3,485 and some odd cents, and I don't think any loss to any citizens of the township financially. So, just move forward and move on.
My biggest concern is, what it's going to cost the taxpayers, and if we can just get this taken care of, and like they said, be done with it and put it behind us, and I guess that's what we're
Move forward, right? I agree. In doing some reading, I ran across this in an MTA article. And it struck me. The township board members have a fiduciary responsibility, and as our Supreme Court stated in 1963, the public is entitled to an elected official's best judgment, and by accepting a public office, officials, quote, become bound to exercise such judgment and to use their best exertions for the public good, regardless of their own, end quote. I think we've all done that here today. It has been a very difficult decision. It's been very difficult. It's been difficult to think of our community. It's been difficult. I hope this will be a fresh start. Yeah. Do you want to do a roll call on that? Just.
Sue, yes. Judy,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Yes.
Laura, yes.
Unanimous, motion passes. Now, how do we want to handle this last item, which is now no longer necessary? We can just.
Yep. Just one time, there's no action to be taken on that item because you decided not to pursue.
Okay, all right, so item 11B is moved. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Safe travels. Commissioner heading to the pub.
Definitely safe travels.
Did you see that smile?
Yeah, save us a seat. Right. Public comments. No? Okay. Board comments.
I have one, and it makes it really easy if the crowd is around. Because I'm not really one for talking in front of crowds, I'm not. But, so I'm gonna make this as quick as I can. I just wanna make a few points in response to Mr. Grandy's, public comments at the last meeting. A few things I wanted to touch base on. The current deputy clerk did not cost the taxpayers over $10,000 for what was described as clerk dishonesty. People keep bringing that up. The township was reimbursed the excess premium when the workman's comp audit was completed. The last board filed a claim against the bond company. We all know that should have never happened. When the bond company discovered that they incorrectly paid the claim, they requested that the township reimburse the money. Based on direction from our attorney and our accountant, we had to reimburse the bond company over $10,000. So they need to quit bringing that up because it's just not true. The next point I want to make is regarding, they keep saying the voter rolls and statements saying there's 200 people that were deceased for 20 years that were still on there. I take this one a little personal because that was my job. I worked with QBF. I got the statement from the county every month with lists of people that have deceased, moved in, moved out of the county, whatever. Every month I was in there working. That was up to date. So that is also untrue. I just want to put some of this stuff to rest. Janice Dillaha was never stood up by Lori. When Lori won the election and asked Janice for any help that she could provide, Lori made herself available. She sent text message stating this. As a matter of fact, Lori was the one who tried to reschedule. Text don't lie. She never stood Janice up. It took over a week before Lori was even allowed to or able to get in her office because she was not given the keys. As far as the stealing of the $400,000, first of all, no one ever said that it was stolen. They said it was missing. There's a difference. We are still to this day working on reconciling the accounts. As a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago, $266,000 of that money was found. That was electronically moved from the tax account to the pool account. You can't do part of the job and not do the rest of the job because the public and all of us only see the reports. And if you don't finish the job, it doesn't show. So in somebody's eyes, that money was missing. And last week we found $2,500 that never cleared the bank. It appears that the check was missing since July of 24, which is result I had to put a void on that check, stop it, and reissue. It never cleared the bank. It didn't. I don't know where it went. As far as his comment on why I picked Dawn Webb as my deputy clerk, for the sole reason is she's great at her job and she cares. Has anyone actually taken time to talk to her to get to know her, or are we going off of he said, she said mentality like we did in school? Just because someone has unwarranted beef with someone, certain people are just going to hop on board. Dawn researches absolutely everything. She won't just do something because somebody wants her to. And people didn't like that. She believes in the law and that laws are there for a reason. I was raised to get to know a person for my own opinion and go there. I don't follow the crowd. I enjoy working with Dawn this time around as well as last time. And I'm sorry you didn't take the time to get to know her. Your loss. Sorry. Kind of wordy for somebody that doesn't like doing this.
Any other board comments? All right, motion to adjourn at 8:46.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm taking Craig's role on this.
Sue said so moved as a second.
What was that?
Craig Walter, previous.
No, you said Sue made the motion You don't have to have a second for it.
Oh. Did you make the motion?
She was so moved. Me too.
Oh, thank you all for hanging out.
Thank you for sticking by its side.
what I can figure out, that is